Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I'm Dr. Flo, your neighborhood clarity coach and uplifter of dreams, especially my own. And I'm here to remind you every day that you are loved and lovable, that you're always going to be loved and lovable, and that you have always been loved and lovable. And so we'll be together for about the next 25 to 30 minutes to share in that love vibration. I hope that wherever you are today that you're feeling a bit of hopefulness. Hopefulness and gratitude is magic as it relates to getting us through life. So for wherever you're coming in from this morning, I hope that you are experiencing in your own special way the peace of God. Wholeness, Tara. I hope that in your own special way, whatever that means for you, that you this morning are experiencing the peace of God. It is available to all of us. Some of you know that I've been working off of this 4-card mindful message spread that was a gift to me from StarlightMysticBotanica.com. And I've been reading them in different orders all week, but they've been helping me to ground my energy as it relates to how I feel about myself and how I feel about others. And so this morning I'm going to read the 4 cards again. I've been reading them all weekend on my lives because I think that they are powerful messages for me about my infinite creativity, about the fact that I am enough, about the fact that all is okay, and that it's okay for me moment by moment and day by day to release my anger and frustrations. And I pulled these cards last week when I was in the valley of the shadow of doubt about many different things. And we only got to read one of these cards, the releasing anger card, out in the garden, in my local garden. But the rest of the cards are equally as powerful. So releasing anger. Anger is a natural emotion, but I recognize that holding on to it can be toxic for me. I look at the person who has caused me pain and see them as the human being they are. I release the anger I feel and free myself. Freeing myself and expanding to love. One more time. Anger is a natural emotion. It's natural. We all feel anger. Thank you. We all feel anger. It's not abnormal. It's not weird. It's not something that should be suppressed or hid. It's not something that we should feel guilty about, especially if we're angry at loved ones. We should not feel ashamed about being angered and upset and annoyed by loved ones. All of those things are natural emotions. We have emotion wheels over on our website, lovedandlovable.org, and many tools that can help people be free. But anger is very, very natural. And it's a natural emotion, but I recognize that holding on to it can be toxic for me. I look at the person who has caused me pain and see them as the human being they are. I release the anger I feel and free myself. Freeing myself and expanding to love. This is something I have to work with daily. Something, I'm a happy person, naturally. I'm generally geared towards happy, but people move on me. And life moves on me. And people come to me. And life comes to me. And I'm often not angered by myself, but angered by behaviors and situations around me. Some things I can control, some things I cannot control. But it's important that I learn how to relate to my anger in healthy ways. And part of that is anchored in the fact that no matter how angry I am, upset, frustrated, agitated, The fact of the matter is that all is okay. All that I feel is okay. I hold myself in love through the unsureness, the worry, doubt, anger, fear, anxiety, rejection, or overwhelm. I'm thankful to feel the full range of emotions that I do. These emotions are the very contrast that leads to my higher expansion. The unsureness, the worry, the doubt, the anger, the fear, the anxiety, the rejection, and the overwhelm, that's all trying to show you that some of what you're living is not your highest expression. You're getting what they call in the law of attraction terms, contrast. You gotta know the light to know the dark. You gotta know the dark to know the light. And if you're in the dark, that means that your heart is wanting more light. If you're unsure in the worry, doubt, anger, fear, and anxiety, your heart's telling you that the people around you and the situations you're in, and maybe even the way in which you're holding yourself, is not good for you. I'm gonna let you know right now, if you're in unsureness all the time and worry, doubt, anger, fear, anxiety, rejection, overwhelm, you may need to change the company you're keeping, or you may need to change the way in which you relate to yourself. Or both. Or both. All that I feel is okay. I hold myself in love through the unsureness, the worry, doubt, anger, fear, anxiety, rejection, or overwhelm. I am thankful to feel the full range of emotions that I do. These emotions are the very contrast that leads to my higher expansion. I just had a memory that I cannot share on the live, but I certainly will be sharing later. Last two cards, infinite creativity. In any moment, I'm able to tap into an infinite source of energy and creativity within me. At any moment, I'm able to tap into an infinite source of energy and creativity within me. Unique ideas flow through, each one capable of blossoming into beautiful creations. At any moment, I am able to tap into an infinite source of energy and creativity within me. Unique ideas flow through, each one capable of blossoming into beautiful creations. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of people who are perpetually tired. And I'm not talking about instances where you're not getting enough rest because Americans are having to work so many jobs and are stressing out about capitalism and bombs falling in Gaza, ceasefire now, and all of these things that are very heavy upon me and countless others. And so sometimes, even if we're resting 8 hours a night, or if we're taking power naps, and even if we are physically rested, the energies around us and the situations around us can be draining and depleting. And I feel this because, I get incredible rest. I rest between 6 to 8 hours a night. And since I've been recalibrating my relationship to others and asking for the things I need, I'm able to get those 8 hours when I want to, and in the schedules, in the slot of time that I would like, to my preference. And what I'm realizing is that I will get up after 8 hours of rest and then end up still feeling tired. Well, am I physically tired, or am I emotionally tired and allowing that emotional exhaustion, if you will, that emotional exhaustion to make me feel like I'm incapable of emails or my assignments or leading my org or building my team or building my tour. And so I often will tell people, as people tell me, I'm tired. I will get to it as soon as I'm not tired. But for some of us, it's not a physical exhaustion and depletion. For some of us, it's emotional, and then we make it physical, which is why our dreams don't move forward. This is for a specific type of human that I'm speaking to this morning as I speak to myself. Because I remember in Dr. Wayne Dyer's Excuses Be Gone, he talked about his son being always too tired to go to school early in the morning, Monday through Friday. But when Saturday mornings came for the fishing trip, the son was always up earlier than the alarm clock. Was the son physically tired? Or was his son energetically tired around school and had all of the infinite sources of energy and creativity for the things that brought the son joy? I think it's an interesting thing to talk about when I do get to discuss it. At any moment, I'm able to tap into an infinite source of energy and creativity within me. At any moment, 6 hours of rest, 3 hours of rest, 5 hours of rest, 10 hours of rest. At any moment, I'm able to tap into an infinite source of energy and creativity within me. And by the way, you all can ask your physicians, your personal physicians, how much rest you require. I rest when I need to rest, and I seek inspiration when I need it, and unique ideas flow through, each one capable of blossoming into beautiful creations of our lives. Last one is the most powerful card of the entire session to me. Above infinite creativity, above everything being okay, above the releasing of anger, which I must do daily, sometimes several times a day. The fact of the matter is, no matter who's watching or who's around, no matter how many people are over on TikTok or how many people are on Instagram or how many people are in the neighborhood, doesn't matter who's watching me or no one watching, the fact of the matter is that I am enough. We recognize in life that everybody, not everybody, the majority of the human population are followers. They believe themselves to be leaders, and they believe themselves to be standing up for justice and social movements and righteousness, like moral righteousness and love of all and care of all and happiness, healthiness, and freedom of suffering for all people. And they believe they are leaders because a lot of them are manipulating people in their homes or abusing children. So like my father, who was an abuser, they feel like they are leaders because they are lording over someone in their four walls or in their little small in-group. So they feel like leaders because they've got 4 or 5 people listening to them and bowing to their commands. So it feels like, it feels like they're leaders. But what we know to be true is that most of the population, including the people over on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, they are followers. And most people, we've discovered over the years, they can't sit and listen to the truth of a guy who has 0 likes and 0 watchers, because what would he know? And that's been a challenge of my last few years, because people are watching my money and they're watching my bank account and they're watching my blessings and they're watching my jobs and they're watching my work. They're watching my output pretty heavily. And the fact of the matter is that they need to see someone else be popular in order to validate their buy-in. Very few people can stand on a mountain alone or stand with one person or 2 people or 3 people and still stay committed to what they're saying as a good thing. I know that I'm loved and lovable because I've had to fight for that message within myself in the face of very interestingly moving people. But regardless of where they sit on the algorithm or sit in relationship to physical proximity to me, it's very important to know that whether the cameras are rolling or not rolling at all, that I am enough. And it's been a hard thing, you know. You go from having thousands. I mean, I had 2,500 people clapping for me per seating in my theater background. 2,500 people going, yay, we love that guy. And then you go from that into speaking a higher level of truth, and you only get 2 watchers in one space and 0 in others. And so it starts to mind fuck you a little bit. It starts to make you feel like, did I do something wrong? No, child. You didn't do anything wrong. You need to realize that you are enough. I am beautiful just as I am. I'm loved just as I am. I'm worthy just by being me. I don't need to fit in. I don't need to fit in. I don't need to fit in. We just spoke about this. So many people are wanting to belong. It's important that we all have love and belonging in our lives, but what are you trying to fit into? I'm finding that the people who want to push me out of spaces are people that I probably don't want to be in spaces with anyway. You don't have to express to me more than once or too many times that you don't appreciate my presence. I got it. This is why I left. This is why I left. So you will find yourself in life being invited back to spaces where you're not truly welcomed. But I don't need to fit in. And I was raised this way. We never had the nicest shoes growing up. We never had the nicest clothes growing up. I'm learning that in some people's families, people were stealing in order to make sure they looked nice at school. My mother was not going to do that. She had her own issues and problems, but she was not going to steal from somebody to make sure that her kids looked like somebody at school and could fit in. She said, you don't need to fit in. You are smart, you are intelligent, you're very, very talented. You don't need to fit in with them. You're a strong leader. You make amazing grades. Why would you want to fit in with the cool kids and their smells and bells and candles? I don't need to come to your rituals. I don't need to be a part of your life. And you certainly don't need to be a part of mine. But I was raised this way. I used to cry. I remember like when I was around the age where kids can start to really bully you and tease you. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I remember crying because every weekend to save money, to pay for these bills that are very real for adults and to be frugal. My parents every weekend on Saturday would take us to the Goodwill. And as a kid, I would cry, real tears behind them taking me into this bastion of poverty. Now, I'm donation-based now, boldly and unapologetically donation-based. Please, Dr. Flow Funds, DrFlowFunds. I'm not above it now, but I used to cry as a child about having to go and be poor at the Goodwill. What if someone saw me? And that was about the time that my mother started instilling in me a specific kind of confidence. I'm going to say it one more time. This is about the time that my mother started to instill in me a very specific kind of confidence. It is your value and your worth is not in your clothing. It's not in the appearance of spirituality, it's not in anything other than who you are. And you, young man, should be more concerned with who you are than what you wear. She made it very, very clear that my cousins and other people who had the Jordans and the jerseys and all of the TVs and the flat screens, while they had all the things, they were anemic in their spirits. And my mother was like, I would rather have hand-me-downs and thrift store items and be judged for being broke than actually being broken in my behavior. You don't need to fit in, Andre. You need to be your loved and lovable self. I just need to be myself, and the right people will come into my life. Those who see and appreciate me for all that I am. I'm beautiful just as I am. I'm loved just as I am. I'm worthy just by being me. I don't need to fit in. I just need to be myself, and the right people will come into my life. Those who see and appreciate me for all that I am. Amazing. Let's move forward into Melody Beattie and the 52 Weeks of Conscious Contact. This week's theme in our network is good grief. Ciao. Oh my God. Good grief. Good fucking grief. This is why y'all stay tired and exhausted and upset all the time. And this is why you need to desperately and earnestly pray the prayers you pray, because you are a self-fulfilling prophecy of nonsense. Good grief. Good fucking grief. I'm going to read yesterday because it was so short and then move us into day 3. For those of you who are new to our network and new to our program, welcome to you. I'm Dr. Flo, Andre Dre, fuck that guy. It really doesn't matter what you call me, as long as you keep them cash apps and them donations coming and the support and encouraging words. But for the last few years, I've been independently or collectively reading this book called 52 Weeks of Conscious Contact by Melody Beattie online. And it's anchored in Emotions Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, and Codependence Anonymous texts. So if you're out there and you struggle with alcoholism or overindulgence of anything, if you're out there and you struggle with instability in your emotions, which is a thing for myself and for so many people, and also if you're a codependent person, meaning that you don't know how to be in harmonious relationships with others without it turning into some kind of weird tug of war or push-pull thing, while having your needs met, then this work is for you. I actually was not introduced to Melody Beattie through Alcoholics Anonymous or Emotions Anonymous work. I was actually introduced to her because she wrote an amazing book called Codependent No More. Good morning, Angie. She wrote an amazing book called Codependent No More. And reading that book, Codependent No More and You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, are 2 books that healed my heart and changed my life. I'm not the same person I was. And I remember my good friend Heather, who is a senior university administrator in Louisiana, remember going to her house and with Boobykins, my best friend from college at the time, and she had 2 items on her living room table. She had a gun, and she also had a copy of Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. Oh, and a Bible. I forgot about that. 3 things. A Bible, a slave Bible, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, and a gun. She said those were all the things she needed to protect herself. And so I was like, well, if a person's going to have a gun and the Bible and a 3rd book there, let me look into this book. And so Louise Hay, who's one of our fairy godmothers in Love and Action Network, Louise Hay wrote an amazing book that sold over multiple millions of copies in multiple languages called You Can Heal Your Life. And it is a manual for self-soothing and self-direction and self-healing using mirror work and self-love and affirmations. And doing that work, Codependence Anonymous and Codependent No More, and You Can Heal Your Life, those books changed the way that I see the world forever. And even though I've had very, very low valley of the soul moments in the last 3 years, it's been those anchor texts that have really helped. And of course, Emergent Strategy by A and B rounds out. But the Emergent Strategy is more my company and organizational philosophy. You Can Heal Your Life was a book that dealt with my heart. We may listen to some Louise Hay more today in the network because she always stops by my heart when I really, really need. You got it. You got it. All right. But then Melody, I met shortly after Louise with Codependent No More. And a lot of people don't realize that they're in codependent relationships, and people don't realize also that they perpetuate codependence in relationships. And once I realized what it was and how it had been used against me all my life and how I was using it against people and all those things, that's, when I got free. But that book also was amazing by Melody Beattie. Look into that one, Codependent No More. Which then, of course, led me then to what else is Melody reading about? What else is she reading about? And, what else is she writing about? As I read the comments. What else is she writing about? And it was 52 weeks of conscious contact. And I began it my first year, in the middle. But this year is my third year of a read through. And each year, it takes me deeper into the truth of who I am. The root of who I am. Crazy people make us crazy. Patience. Good grief, as we're going to do today. Little things like that began to stick and leave deposits on the soul. And for that, we are grateful. All right, so I'm going to read day 2 and I'm going to read day 3. We read this devotional for conscious contact with the divine every day. Sometimes there's language around alcoholism and death and dying here. Trigger warning, so, plug and chug. And also sometimes there is God language. And everybody in our network doesn't believe in God because everybody in our network doesn't have to believe the same thing. I'm not sure if that's been made very, very clear to everyone, Angie and Tara, but everybody in our network, last I heard, did not have to believe the same thing. I've been very clear with my network and very, very clear from my heart. And been very clear on recorded lines that there are days that I believe in God and there are days that I don't. There are days that I believe in people and there are days that I don't. There are days that I believe in humanity and there are days that I don't. There are days that I believe in unconditional love and there are days that I don't. There's days that I believe in family and there's days that I don't. There are days that I believe in friends and there are days that I don't. And I've been very clear about this. There are days that I believe in God and there are days that I don't. And some people will say, well, because you believe some days you don't, that's why your life is doing the way it's doing. No, I'm actually happy, healthy, and free from all suffering. It is these lies and cognitive distortions that run amok that cause problems. But we're getting clear. At least I am. And the text is helping. So once again, this week's theme is good grief. I'll read day 2 and then day 3, and then we'll move on to our interrogative questions around the chakra. Day 2, we don't do grief. Grief does us. The application. Don't worry about when this value applies. When it's time to heal our heart from a loss, we'll know. Don't be surprised if grief hits years after a loss or takes longer than we think it should. I remember not grieving the loss of my father until several years later, because he was such an emotional and physical abuser to me that when he actually died, I was relieved. I was very relieved when my father died. And so my good grief, or my grief process, did not heal until several years later. Several years later, after being with he's not here, he's not here, he's not here. Some of you have watched me cry about my father while singing Dance with My Father, or He Will Fly. That's still lingering grief that's there, that is coming now, because when he did die, I was so happy to not be emotionally tormented by him. And so don't be surprised if grief hits years after a loss. It takes longer than we think it should. And also last night, in late night boost that's available on our podcast and newsletter and television show, I mentioned that StarlightMysticBotanica.com had mentioned earlier in the week that sometimes the grief we're feeling is for people who are alive, or versions of people we know who are alive. And that's something that we grieve, and that's something that could also take longer than we think it should. All right, day 3. We're almost there, but I'll do under the hour as I promised. Hoo-cha. Day 3. Few of us like to feel sad or cry. Grief can be tricky. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross identified the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Whoa! We're going to have to go deeper today. Hey, Starlight, we're going to have to go deeper today. I can already tell where this is going. Few of us like to feel sad or cry. Grief can be tricky. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross identified the 5 stages of grief. We were just talking about you, Starlight, how you talked about grieving people who are alive, or grieving versions of people who are alive as they are alive. And don't I know it, and don't you know it? Elizabeth Kubler-Ross identified the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Those words barely convey the shock that can leave us dazed and numb for months, or the white hot rage many of us feel, often towards our higher power, when we lose someone we love, or the odd way we feel so separated from the rest of the world when we grieve. Then there are stages of grief that few people discuss. The obsession with what we've lost. The guilt that's part of the grief. I could have prevented it. The way grief can play havoc on our self-esteem. I must be a terrible person for this to happen to me. People may say stupid things like, "Aren't you over that yet?" People may say stupid things. They may say some stupid ass things. They may say some stupid ass things. Stupid ass things. People may say stupid things like, "Aren't you over that yet?" You may even expect yourself to be healed from a long loss before your heart is ready. The challenge of the day is that nothing about grief is easy. We may have to live with the pain for some losses all of our lives. We may have to live with the pain from some of our losses all of our lives. But the hardest thing for many people is losing the person they love. We may think that being healed means we don't miss that person anymore. What it really means is we're willing to move forward with our lives. One more time. Nothing about grief is easy. We may have to live with the pain for some losses all our lives. But the hardest thing for many people is losing the person they love. We may think that being healed means we don't miss that person anymore. What it really means is we're willing to move forward with our lives. I've talked often about the gold standard of fans. And this is not to offend anyone in the room who's been kind to me. You all will have your reward in the kingdom of heaven. But I had a friend named Jen McPeters, who would take off running towards me down the Ped Mall at Lee University every time she saw me. And she was always front row with pom-poms, loving and appreciating on my gifts. And you want to talk about a super fan. But she also was a person who could sit with me in a park under a tree in New York City on her visit there and just eat an egg sandwich and just share life. There are very few people in my life, even still, who can sit on a bench with me, be still, and eat an egg sandwich without messing with themselves or talking bad about themselves or inserting themselves into my sandwich. There are very few people like Jen in my life, even now, very few, who can just sit with an egg sandwich and be still and know. To say, how are your shows? How are rehearsals? Let's giggle about coupons. I could count those people on one hand or less. So I miss her. I miss her texting me about the coupon she found to save a buck. I miss her asking me about the progress of my shows. I miss her saying, I saw your video on the feed. I think you're singing better every day. I miss her visiting me in New York City, sitting on a bench and eating a sandwich from Pret a Manger. And just talking about the good old days of sitting on the Ped Mall at school. You may think that being healed means we don't miss that person anymore. What it really means is we're willing to move forward with our lives. And Jen never got to see me make it to Broadway. But I know that if I had called her and been able to call her, she would have tried to come. And more than likely, she would have been there. Got a call at my desk late one night while I was slaving for the man in corporate. And my friend Kim from Chicago said, I need you to sit down. And you know when someone says that to you, they're about to change your life. I need you to sit down. My friend Jen, you hear about this on the news in the spinach and in the food products, but you know when they say that several people have died from E. coli outbreaks or salmonella, you don't think that that's real because it's not happened to you, or you got like food poisoning once and it was bad, but it didn't do anything bad to you. But the way the story goes is that my dear friend Jen went out to eat, and her hamburger was undercooked, and she got bad E. coli poisoning, and they could not get the medicine flown into her state and city quick enough to reverse the damage. And so essentially my friend died from eating a hamburger, which is just really painful for me, because it's just really painful for me. Anyway, that's that on that. And I miss her so very much. And because I don't believe in afterlives or anything like that, I'm not one of those people that's going to start up with y'all about, yes, thank you, rest in peace, Jen. I'm not going to be one of those people that starts up with y'all talking about I'll see her on the other side one day, and I know she's over there waiting for me at the pearly gates and all that other bullshit. I'm not doing that with y'all. I'm not doing it in any coven. I'm not doing it in any coven, and I'm not doing it anywhere else. My friend Jen loved me more than the people who are still here, and that's that on that. And I don't know if I'm going to see her later, so I got to remember what she gave me here. Anyway, let's move on to Solar Plexus Day. In Love and Action Network, every day we focus on a chakra. Every day we try to elevate our moods and elevate our dreams and elevate our hearts. And we start on Sunday. We start at mysticbotanica.com in the root chakra. And then we move up on Mondays into our sacral chakra, which is all about how we feel after coming from the root chakra of I am. And by the way, nobody in this network invented this. This is chakras that are like thousands of years old. We just so happen to do them on the days of the week. That's what makes it special. But on Monday, we move up to the sacral chakra of how we feel. And then on Tuesdays, we move up into Manipura. And Manipura, because this stuff came from Sanskrit, like ancient Vedic, like ancient. Like no one here invented shit. We're relying on it and using it as a tool. But the solar plexus chakra is all about what we do. I do is the mantra. It's known as the Manipura chakra, and it involves exploring aspects of personal power, self-esteem, and inner strength. And so today, I want to cherry pick some of the questions. I want to talk today about emotional balance, ambition and drive, and self-improvement. And I'm going to ask questions because I have way more questions with you people. I've got way more questions than answers. And as it relates to my life, I have way more questions than answers. So I've decided on my share days to not give facts about what I think I know about you and what you think you know about me, and rather ask some questions that should be reflected upon, or that could be reflected upon. We don't should on each other here. That's not healthy. That's a cognitive distortion to should on people. You don't know what people should be doing, and you shouldn't know what you should be doing. And I shouldn't even talk about shoulds with shoulds, right? But I found that more questions than answers are serving me right now, because we don't know what we don't know. But we're gonna know. We're gonna know. All right, 3 questions about emotional balance on Solar Plexus Day. How do I manage and process my emotions, especially anger and frustration? How do I manage and process my emotions, especially anger and frustration? Do I tend to suppress my emotions, or do I express them openly? These are questions for our audience and for our network and for those who will watch us in the replays. Do I tend to suppress my emotions? or do I express them openly? I'm a person who openly expresses it all. Unless you motherfuckers are prepared to eat me with barbecue sauce, you can't touch me. You never were able to, and you're never going to be able to touch me. This is known. So unless you all have some barbecue sauce and a grill, you're certainly not going to eat me. So I'm waiting for Friday's meeting and everything else in this motherfucker. Because I don't suppress. I express openly. Anyway, these are questions to ask yourself. Do you suppress your emotions or do you express them openly? How does my emotional state affect my interactions with others? I'm going to answer this one for myself, and you can answer for yourself in the chat or inside your head. My emotional state affects my interactions with others by usually repelling a lot of bullshit. So my emotional state, and welcome whomever you are. My emotional state moves on the actions of other people. I was given guidance in my therapy earlier in the year to not move on what people say, but to actually respond to what they do. So until something actually happens to me, or is laid at my feet in a public situation or private situation, I don't really concern myself with it because it really ain't real if it's stuck in your fucking head. And that's a whole different sermon for a whole different day, but it ain't real if it's stuck in your fucking head. So I learned earlier in the year, as it related to all people around me and myself, to really only give attention to the actions. The actions, not the imaginary beliefs, but the actions, and to address the actions. I do like that. I do not like that. This is to my preference. This is not to my preference. What the fuck? You know, and my emotional state is affected by my personal actions and the actions of people around me, especially those closest to me, because strangers, have you noticed that strangers don't really bother you much? Have you noticed that you can encounter thousands of strangers and not be emotionally affected, but it's the people who you allow to be closest to you that are the ones who actually get your goat? Have you noticed that I don't care about what the man walking in front of my house feels? I care about or give, credence to what people who are close to me do and say. Tara said, Dr. Flo and his coaching has helped me release my emotions more freely. I'm glad. We all deserve that. How does my emotional state affect my interactions with others? So the actions happen, right? So the actions happen. And then I feel an emotion. And then I respond on that emotion authentically. And more often than not, they don't like what I mirror back. No, wait. Let me take that back. If I am being super booty clappy, if I'm like, oh my God, you do nothing wrong, you're a perfect human, you're flawless in all your ways, then they mirror back to me. Oh my God, Dr. Flo, you're amazing, you're perfect in all your ways. But if by my emotional state and my truth, I communicate to these people, and they have names, what it is, and they don't like it, the law of attraction causes that to be a repelling force. And they flee me like the plague. So the short answer is, how does my emotional affect my interactions? It really depends on whether or not they want to hear what I have to say. Because I'm so in tune with my emotions that if I am upset with you, I'm going to roll my eyes. But we have to ask ourselves why our open emotion states are offensive to those who say they love us. We have to ask ourselves why our raw emotional states are offensive. Now, I'm not talking about instances of abuse and yelling. I'm not talking about casual abuse and harm. I'm talking about, we got to ask ourselves, whatever, I'm going to move forward. Ambition and drive. What are my ambitions and long-term goals? What are my ambitions and long-term goals? I'm going to go back like one more time and just say that people have to be very, very mindful that the ways in which they act on people has a consequence, positive or negative. You have to understand that what you do will be responded to by somebody. I'm being responded to right now by Passion, right? Passion, my favorite troll, is back. Must be a slow day for you. But they have to recognize that for any kind of positive or negative behavior, people are going to vibrate back to you out of their emotional states. And we have to deal with that. We have to deal with that. But I'm not going to stop eye rolling or being my authentic self because it makes someone else feel uncomfortable, destabilized. It is your opportunity and responsibility to become better in your life. Don't ask life to get easier. Ask yourself to become better. That's what I'm having to do. I cannot ask Janiel. Passion, your real name is Janiel. Passion, your real name is Janiel. Janiel Mason is your real name? Is that who you are? Janiel? I bet I am. Okay, so ambition and drive. What are my ambitions and long-term goals? What are my ambitions and long-term goals? How passionate and driven do I feel about achieving my dreams? How passionate and driven do I feel about achieving my dreams? I'm so passionate and driven that when one fan, one troll, and one staff member shows up on my lives, I'm going to still keep going so that one day when y'all show back up, I'm on the beach. That's how passionate and driven I am. We lost the troll. We lost the troll. I'm so passionate and driven in my feelings about my dreams that I'm going to keep going on camera until you see me on a beach. Maybe with a whole different crowd of people. The rest is still unwritten. But I'm just that passionate and driven. Last question is, what obstacles do I perceive in my path? And how do I plan to overcome them? We don't have enough time for that, but just go within on that one. What obstacles do I perceive in my path? I have a list. I have a list of obstacles. Some of them are circumstantial. Some of them are environmental. Some of them are people. But I have a list. I have a list of obstacles. There are people here who are obstacles to me. There are people here who are not. And how I plan to overcome them is by staying closer with the people who are not obstacles to me. But you answer for yourself. Last few questions on self-improvement is, what steps am I taking to improve my self-esteem and confidence? What steps am I taking to improve my self-esteem and confidence? There is, in Love and Action Network, for those of you watching, and at high levels of Love and Action Network, no less, there are issues of self-esteem and confidence. And we discovered many months ago, Tara, in our work, that we would not be able to actually heal anybody who was not confident. So we're stuck in a holding pattern to so-called non-existent hell. A hell mind state. Let's talk about it, because confidence and self-esteem is the first foundational piece of light work and advocacy and activism. If you're not in your self-esteem and confidence, you can't take criticism. If you're not in self-esteem and confidence, you can't believe in your goals. If you're not in self-esteem and confidence, you're not going to be able to say Black Lives Matter. If you're not in self-esteem and confidence, you're not going to be able to say ceasefire now. If you're not in self-esteem and confidence, you're not going to be able to say, what the fuck? What the fuck? You don't. You don't allow it. You don't. You have incredible audacity. You say crazy shit. You just don't allow more of it. And we are allowing more of it. And like we discussed many months ago, most of our work professionally, collectively and independently, as it relates to music, diversity, equity, inclusion, business development, and any other work, is instilling in people a healthy sense of self-esteem and confidence, especially under pressure. Like I told Poppy Water earlier in the week, you will learn to be calm under pressure. Y'all will learn to be self-confident and have your self-esteem under pressure. You will learn. You will learn. I'm going to learn you. I'm the clarity coach. I'm going to learn you. But it was like an epiphanal moment, Angie. It was a pivotal moment where I was like, oh, we got a problem, Tara. It was a major problem. I'm glad you got it. It was like a epiphanal moment, and I'm like, oh, Tara, we in danger, girl. We in danger. We in danger. We are in danger. Because until we can instill self-esteem and confidence truthfully, I'm not talking about from a smell or a bell. Girl, baby, girl. Girl, baby, girl. I'm not talking about a candle, a incense, a fucking sage, and no other shit. I don't care where you get it from. You better get it. You can light your own pussy on fire as a ritual. I don't give a fuck. You better find some self-esteem and confidence so that it's not shaken, stirred, and battered when a person walks up to you and say, I don't believe in that. The fuck? When someone comes up to me and says, yo, I hear you saying that you're loved and lovable, Dr. Flo, but I don't believe in that. Do you think I'm shaken by that shit? Do you think I want to kick them out of my life because they don't believe? Do you think I want to, think that they are denouncing me because they don't think they're loved and lovable? That's their prison, not mine. Girl, baby girl, we have a problem here. We have a problem here. We're in danger, girl. We're in danger. Because if these people can't get self-esteem and confidence locked in, they're going to be fighting with themselves and other people for the rest of their fucking lives. And we realized months ago in this discovery, in this sacred place, we learned that if we're not prepared in our vocal performance coaching, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and business development practices individually and collectively to build confidence in people, we're fucked. And that's the technical language. Because they're going to have to be bold enough to speak up sooner. They're going to have to be bold enough to say Black Lives Matter. They're going to have to be bold enough to say ceasefire now. They're going to have to be bold enough to say ouch, oops, or whatever the fuck is necessary for the moment. But the question is, what steps am I taking to improve my self-esteem and confidence? And nothing shakes the table more than a person who's confident. The last I heard, Love and Action Network was a bring your own beliefs network. So like I said, I got more questions than answers in this ashy motherfucker. Because the last I heard, confidently speaking, the last I heard, I was confident that Love and Action Network and its affiliating partners, may they be blessed and may there be more. Last I heard, we would bring your own beliefs, not tell other people what the fuck to do. But I would have had that conversation yesterday. And the day before that. And the day before that. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. I heard that Love and Action Network was actually a bring your own belief network where you could be hoodoo, voodoo, shoodoo, moodoo, Christian, schmishtin, atheist, schmatheist, whatever the fuck you wanted to be, and you'd be accepted here. That's what the fuck I heard. That's what the fuck I heard. But I've taken my steps to improve my self-esteem and confidence, so I know what the fuck I'm leading. I know what the fuck I'm leading. But the last I read, Angie, Love and Action Network and its affiliated partners, and they don't have to be affiliated, bitch. They don't have to be affiliated to shit. But the last I heard, Love and Action Network and its affiliated partners was bring your own belief. Next question. How am I working towards strengthening my personal power and autonomy? Oh, y'all know I'm working it, but this question's for y'all. How am I working towards strengthening my personal power and autonomy? Last question. What practices or habits can I incorporate into my life to balance and energize my solar plexus chakra? Well, it's all in the affirmation of the day. I do. One of my practices and habits, and you all can answer for yourselves in the chat or answer in your heads. One of the practices and habits that I incorporate into my life is reminding myself that I do more than people think I do. And I'm doing the most for myself. And having that practice and habitual thought and having that hypnotic, like I am doing the damn thing. In the face of incredible bullshit, but I'm doing the damn thing. And will continue to do the damn thing. And will always do the damn thing unless one of you niggas are prepared to break out the grill and the barbecue sauce and literally eat me. Unless one of you motherfuckers have a grill big enough and a barbecue sauce bottle big enough to eat me, you're going to watch me forevermore. Where you watch me is up to you. Where you watch me is up to you. But you're going to watch me. Because especially on Solar Plexus Day and every day, I do. I may not be doing what you want me to do, but I'm certainly doing. In the words of Tara Paolo Studio on her sermon, y'all have watched me. Y'all knew exactly how this shit was going to go down when you approached it. As above, so below. Bitches and witches. All right, are there any closing thoughts? Got a text message this morning saying, "We know you mean us no harm." Who the fuck is we and us? Y'all are trash in your behaviors. And if I'm trash in mine, let's be out with it. Healing is here and now. I will read you the text. It's my life. I will read you the motherfucking text. I pray you know, we know, you mean no harm here. I pray you know, we know, you mean no harm here. Who the fuck is that man talking about? Like I asked Nicole, what the fuck did you hear? Any closing thoughts before we go? I'm about to bless you like I used to. I need to know. I got more questions than answers. What the fuck have you heard about me? that I'm not bold with online hours every day. So what the fuck have you heard about me? And number 2 is, as it relates to, I pray you know, we know you mean no harm here. I need to know who the fuck is we. And why that was the statement. I pray you know, we know you mean no harm here. Heart hands. I said by question marks. What the fuck is that? Y'all really need to decide, Starlight Mystic, whether you like me or not. Y'all in the coven need to come together without me around and decide whether you actually like me or not. Love? Sure. I see demonstration of that, by and large. But y'all need to decide whether you like me or not. And whether you're really convinced that I mean no harm to you. You got to make that decision for yourself. That's not on me, baby girl. That's not on me. That's not on me at all. Y'all have to really get together in the coven and decide whether y'all like me or not. Just get together amongst yourselves and make that decision on whether I'm likable or not. I'm loved and lovable, we know. But likable, by the we know you mean no harm, get it together. Get it together. I pray you know, we know, you mean no harm. Then cut the bullshit. Especially with me. Cut the bullshit. Cleansing breaths? Anyone? May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be free of all suffering. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be free of all suffering. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be free of all suffering. Going within, may I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free of all suffering. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free of all suffering. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be free of all suffering. This one's going to be going up on the newsletter and podcast. It is going to be episode 136. Today is day 170 of the year. We're almost over halfway there. Visit the soon-to-be new and improved lovedandlovable.org to find out the latest. And feel free to DM me if you want a daily dose and a real dose of clarity for your heart. Life is too short and too long to be playing stupid games, folks. So get clear, grieve what you need to grieve, and then move forward. Tomorrow I'll be back on Heart Chakra Day to talk about the things we love, because there's so much to love. And I hope that I'll see you all around the network. Have a wonderful day. Stay where you are, Angie. I'll be over on TikTok to chat with you briefly before going on a walk. And then I will see everybody else around the network. Stay loved and lovable. Stay in your power. Stay in your joy. Don't let anyone turn you away from what you know is going to be encouraging, equipping, and empowering for your heart. I'll see you around. Lots of love to you.